Rockstar Gang, what up, what up? Appreciate everyone joining the live stream. Do me a favor, make sure you smash that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Make sure you click that post notifications bell so you don't miss out on new content. Welcome into the off-season content's already start, man. We're going to be talking about off-season wide receiver targets because obviously there has been a lot of talk about the Garrett Wilson thing, right? There's been a lot of talk about the Garrett Wilson thing, but there's also been a lot of talk about uh some other people. And of course in the draft. But wide receiver really for me, it's a need for Bryce Young's development, but is it the biggest need going forward for the Carolina Panthers? No. Like we all know the biggest need here is for the Carolina Panthers is the defense, right? But there are some guys out there that I'm very interested in, and we're going to dive into more than what this team needs. And it's basically from offense to defense. You can rank them however you want. We might even do a ranking list going forward. We might just talk about the biggest needs really just going forward, honestly. But today we're going to talk about some wide receivers that I think we could target in free agency today. And I really I'm really excited about this episode because I love talking about this offseason stuff. This is the time of the year that I love doing content because it's just so much fun. There's a lot of optimism in the air. And of course, you know, that's just me though. Love doing draft content, love doing free agency content. So I appreciate everyone joining the live stream again. Do me a favor, make sure you smash that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you haven't already, make sure you click that post notifications bell so you don't miss out on new content. But I appreciate everyone joining in on this live stream. So make sure, again, pound that like button, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you click that post notifications bell so you don't miss out on any new content, ladies and gentlemen, okay? Make sure you don't miss out on new content. All right, let's get right into it, man. Because the biggest thing, the reason why we're doing this is that the Carolina Panthers have struggled. The thing it's like I put in the description of this live stream, man. Like, if you want Bryce Young to continue to develop going forward, you need to get him a true number one wide receiver, not Jalen Coker, not Xavier Legette. Like you gotta get him a top target. He needs a top target, and that is going to be your best way going forward to get him to develop. I think Jalen Coker and Xavier Legette still need to develop. So I think that's why you need to go and target guys like this so that he can develop properly. All right. So again, let's get right into it. Let's go through this list of guys first. Okay. And I've got my handy dandy PFF notebook. You know what I mean? I got my handy dandy PFF notebook, and we're going to use PFF today as we go through each and every one of these players. All right. So of course we got to bring up the first guy, which, everybody has taught. Obviously this guy has been talked about amongst Carolina Panthers fans for a while, ever since, of course, that tweet that he put out about Bryce Young. Of course, getting everybody excited. That was the biggest buzz around was Garrett Wilson's tweet this offseason. So let me pull it up here. All right, so Garrett Wilson, man. This is the guy that I am looking. This is the guy, number one guy I'm eyeing. In my opinion, this is the guy you got to eye. This is the guy you want to go after for Bryce Young. Okay, in my opinion. All right, you want to target Garrett Wilson, in my opinion. I think you got to. Let's go look at his season stats. There we go. Yeah, I think you got to target Garrett Wilson. Like, if you're going to go and get a guy for Bryce Young, You got to get him a like I said, you got to get him a true number one wide receiver. All right. And I think that's been a glaring issue since Bryce Young's got here. They went and tried to get Deontay Johnson. That didn't work out. It was simply a guy who's an absolute head case, in my opinion. Gets his mouth, gets him in trouble, in my opinion. Okay. Uh, Garrett Wilson, again, you saw the tweet out there about Bryce. A lot of interaction. Obviously, it sent Carolina Panthers fans in a frenzy. Spark conversations about Wilson's potential availability. But Wilson isn't the only star I think Carolina could target. And there's definitely some realistic possibilities here if we're looking to reshape this wide receiver core and really bring and secure a true number one wide receiver for this franchise. Okay. So Garrett Wilson, one thing that people don't, I'm not sure if y'all remember, was the 2022 Offensive Rookie of the Year, right? He finds himself in a murky situation there in New York, okay? In New York, right? And 24 years old, the receiver is one of the brightest young talents in the NFL. The uncertainty surrounding the Jets quarterback situation has reportedly left him frustrated. Now, a lot of people have been talking. Ian Rappaport has suggested that Wilson's future in New York could hinge on whether Aaron Rodgers returns for another season or not. Now, if Rodgers decides to obviously retire, then they may look. I mean, if Rodgers decides to retire or move on, Wilson may look for an exit in opening the door for the Panthers to make a move. For Carolina, I mean, Wilson is the ideal candidate in my opinion, for Bryce Young. He's an ascending superstar who could grow alongside Bryce Young. Okay. And you acquire a guy like that, and you're probably going to have to. The problem is to get him, you're probably going to have to send a significant package of draft picks. But his talent and his route running and his precision and ability to create separation would immediately elevate this Panthers offense, right? I think Garrett Wilson is the top candidate when you go and look at wide receivers and guys that like this. This is the guy that Bryce Young can really use and develop. He's a guy that can get open. I think and that's the thing about Garrett Wilson. I think he's a versatile wide receiver. He can play your X, he can play your Y, he can play your Z, he can play any wide receiver position on the field. And I think he would be a great addition, and I think he would fit right along with Jalen Coker and Garrett and Xavier Legette, right? And especially with Adam Thielen contemplating retirement, you got to think about replacing that slot. Now, I think Garrett Wilson is a better performer outside, but he can play in the slots, and that's another thing that definitely puts Garrett Wilson at his top of the list. But you look at you go look at his stats: third in targets, right? Third in targets in receiving. You got fifth in receptions in the league, 101. He had over 152 targets this year. Over 1,100 receiving yards, 7 touchdowns. He only had 6 drops throughout the year. Yards per reception, he averages 10.9 yards per reception. Yards after catch per reception, 4.4. Passer rating when targeted, 89.4. And an average depth of target, 9.4. So, again, I think that, I think that Garrett Wilson is the perfect fit here in Carolina for Bryce Young. He's one of the guys I think is an absolute stud and will make Bryce Young's life a lot easier and his development moving forward a lot better and easier. So I think he immediately elevates this offense if we acquire him. Right. Again, I know it would take a lot of significant draft package, draft picks, but his talent, his route running, precision, his ability to create separation, that's what makes him special, really. So appreciate everyone joining the live stream. Do me a favor, make sure you smash that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Make sure you click that post notifications bell so you don't miss out on any new content. All right, let's get into the next guy here. Now, I like this next guy, because he has familiarity with our head coach. I like DK Metcalf a lot. I think DK Metcalf is a good fit here. 6'3", 222. Again, big size wide receiver, one of the most physical, imposing wide receivers in the league. I mean, he could become available due to shifting dynamics in Seattle, right? You got Jackson Smith-Njigba, and who has emerged as the key contributor there. Seattle may consider moving Metcalf as he enters the final year of his contract in 2025, right? Again, the connection with the Panthers, head coach Dave Canales is worth noting, right? I think Canales working closely with a guy like Metcalf during his time there as the team's first as the team's receivers coach, later as the passing game coordinator. That familiarity could make Carolina an appealing destination for a DK Metcalf, who would bring a blend of speed, size, physicality, that's just unmatched by most receivers in the league. And so Panthers, I think, would need to carefully weigh the cost of trading for a receiver who may demand a lucrative extension upon arrival. But again, there's your deep threat right there for Bryce Young. You go look at his stats: 24th in targets, 32nd in receptions, over 992 yards, so almost 1,000 yards. 22nd among wide receivers, and 5 receiving touchdowns this season. Only 3 drops this year. Yards per reception, 15. Yards after the catch per reception, 4. Passer rating when targeted, 99. Average depth of target, top 10, 14.3. So the numbers are there. He's got they got him a decent receiving grade. They got him ranked among 33rd, 36th here in receiving grade. So again, I just think that I think the continuity for Metcalf, the continuity and the connection with Dave Canales is worth noting. And I think that familiarity can make it a appealing destination for Metcalf. And again, I think that blend of speed and size and physicality, which is unmatched by most receivers in the league, I think would be very, very beneficial to the development of Bryce Young, and especially in that deep ball accuracy that everybody wants. Now, this next one, I'm not so high on. Deebo Samuel is a guy that I look at, and I'm curious as to, should we go and look at a guy like a Deebo Samuel? Again, I'm not very high on Deebo, even though as a Gamecock fan, here's the thing. You could get a Deebo Samuel because the fact that San Francisco is having to do some financial crunch. They're having to crunch some numbers. They've got a laundry list of key players set to hit free agency over the next 2 years. So with extensions for stars like Brandon Ayuk and Javon Hargrave already on the books, and other pivotal players like Brock Purdy and George Kittle demanding future attention, Deebo Samuel may find himself expendable, right? Because they also signed Brandon Ayuk. Samuel for them, and Samuel across the league, has revolutionized this hybrid receiving running back role during being in San Francisco. He has, but he showed signs of decline in 2024. I'll be honest with you. His explosive playmaking ability was not as evident this season. It leads you to question about his long-term fit there in San Francisco, right? So then you're probably wondering, well, then why would we go after him if he can't even pan out in an offense like the San Francisco 49ers? Well, because for the Panthers, the concerns lies in whether Samuel's skill set would overlap with that of our first pick in Xavier Legette. So I think like while Samuel could provide versatility and toughness, why not do the same thing that Deebo was used in San Francisco when you can do that you can do with Xavier Legette now? So I think you got to decide if his potential trade cost aligns with our offensive needs going forward and Bryce Young's development going forward, right? Now, this next guy I'm going to talk about is definitely a fan favorite among fans, and it's T Higgins. T Higgins is another guy that is a fan favorite, I think, amongst fans. I would probably put if I'm looking at Carolina Panthers fans and the way I've been seeing things lately, I think this guy is T Higgins is probably number 2 on the list behind Garrett Wilson. And then it's probably DK Metcalf. And then it's probably Chris Godwin, and then a guy like a Deebo Samuels. I've even heard Amari Cooper's name been thrown around since he'll be a free agent unless Buffalo, obviously resigns him, which I think really is what's going to happen. But T Higgins has long been linked to the Panthers for a long time, largely due to the fact of his roots coming out of Clemson University, right? Now, with his rookie contract nearing its end, Higgins is expected to be one of the most coveted wide receivers in this 2025 free agency class. Now, the Bengals, I think, are unlikely to part with Higgins without a fight. Now, there has been this rumor in Cincinnati that T. Higgins says that he would take less money than asked for to stay in Cincinnati. Now, I don't know how true that is, but he also wants to make it fair for himself. So then when you talk about as for Joe Burrow and fellow receiver Jamar Chase, they have made it clear that they want to keep this offensive core intact, which as they should. However, that salary cap constraints there in Cincinnati could force them to let Higgins test that open market. So if the Panthers are serious about reuniting that 6'4" pass catcher with his home state, they'll need to be more prepared to offer a massive contract to secure his services. And I think Higgins' ability to win contested catches, stretch the field, I think that makes him an excellent complement to Young's skill set going forward, right? I think that's a huge development for Bryce Young, a guy like that, right? So, again, got to bring in we got to bring in guys like this if you really want to develop Bryce Young the right way. Next up we got Chris Godwin. Let me pull him up. Now this one's an interesting one. Trying to get a guy within a division rival. Chris Godwin obviously went down with a bad injury this offseason. But he is arguably considered the second best wide receiver in Buccaneers history. So for me, if the Panthers miss out on other targets, I think Chris Godwin may represent a viable plan B. I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers star is a proven, reliable receiver when healthy. Though injuries have been a recurring issue for him. His 2024 season was cut short by a gruesome ankle injury. But if Godwin can bounce back, man, he could provide Carolina with a steady presence in that pass game. I think one factor that could work in our favors is Godwin's prior relationship with Dave Canales. Again, familiarity, continuity. The two work together in Canales' time in Tampa Bay as Tampa Bay's offense coordinator in 2023. So, though there were rumblings of tension between them during that year, I'm assuming that those differences have been resolved, and then Godwin could offer a veteran presence capable of stabilizing a young and inconsistent wide receiver core and help Bryce Young again develop the right way. We're at a crossroads here where Bryce Young's development depends heavily on surrounding him with the right pieces, right? Legitimate right pieces. Okay. And a legitimate wide receiver one is a top at that list, in my opinion, whether it's through a blockbuster trade for Garrett Wilson or bold pursuit for T Higgins or a calculated move for someone like DK Metcalf. The Panthers, I still think, have to be aggressive and decisive this offseason. This is not just about improving the roster. It's about making a statement. So if the Panthers want to maximize their investment in Young and compete in an increasingly competitive NFC South, they cannot afford to go another season without a top tier target, in my opinion. You have to get a top tier wide receiver. Now, again, we know that this offseason has plenty of needs, and we're going to dive more into that as we go through this offseason. Tomorrow night, we're definitely going to be doing a mock draft once again. So we're going to be breaking down a mock draft like we did last week. All right. We're going to do that tomorrow night. So make sure y'all tune in for that. But we're really going to break down what this team really needs going forward. Obviously going till the off season, or basically until the draft and free agency is over with. But we'll probably still need stuff then. It's not going to be perfect. So, but right now, Carolina, in my opinion, I don't think wide receiver, even though we went through all these guys that they could target, right? And we only talked about guys that either we could trade, free agents, or, guys that are looking, to go elsewhere, like a Garrett Wilson. But again, getting Bryce Young a true number one wide receiver is important to his development. So what's up, man? Appreciate you joining. What's up, Antonio? What's up, Marcos Cash? I appreciate everyone joining the live stream. Welcome, man. Welcome, man. Julian, what's good, man? Appreciate you joining. What's up, Mad Chatter? Make True Money. What's up, Clay? I haven't been on in a minute. Been busy. Hey, you good, man? No worries. No worries. My guy Shy Smith signed with the Stallions. Yeah, we definitely aren't going to be targeting Shy Smith. Now, I'm sure some of you guys are like, well, why didn't you talk about like McMillan or whatever? I'm talking about guys that were, like I said, you could either trade, or make a bold pursuit for T Higgins, or maybe make a calculated move for someone like a DK Metcalf. I'm not necessarily talking about in the draft. I mean, they might still go in the draft and get a wide receiver. I think McMillan will be there at number 8. In my opinion, he possibly could be there at number 8, but I'm not looking at McMillan. I think we need to get a guy that's actually been basically a true number one at the wide receiver position, or has played like a true number one at the wide receiver position, and get him in here to help the development of Bryce Young. That's just me. We want a center. I want a center too. I think a center is very important. I think a center is definitely very important, Matt Cheddar. I think you got to bring in a center too, for sure. Whether they do that through the draft or whether they do that through the free agency, I think it would be beneficial to this team to bring in a center, for sure. I don't disagree with that whatsoever. I love Garrett Wilson, saving from the Jets. I want him in DC, but I'd be happy for him to play with Bryce. Yeah, I mean, I think Garrett Wilson should be at top of the list. And then I'd probably say T Higgins, if we're looking at guys that could be looking to transition, right? But Garrett Wilson's definitely my number 1. I would say probably T Higgins is my 2. And then I would probably say DK Metcalf, my number 3. I'll probably go I would probably go Chris Godwin, my 4, and then Deebo Samuel, my 5. Deebo Samuel really, even though I brought him up, um, even I think he would be good for Bryce, but I also see the same thing out of Deebo Samuel as in an Xavier Legette. So, it doesn't really make sense to bring him in, right? Amari Cooper is going to be a free agent. That's a guy that they could take a look at, right? I think he's going to re-sign with the Buffalo Bills. That's just me. So, yeah. Shy Smith, Matt Corral. Y'all are talking about the dang XFL here, man. That's too funny, man. That's too funny. Man, also, by the way, shout out to the NFC South Roundtable, man. If you did not go check that out, or if you didn't see the episode tonight, make sure you go check that out. And then they also are going to have a pre-recorded video coming out this Thursday, so make sure you tune in. But we did a live stream tonight, so if you guys didn't check that out, you should. Deontay probably want to sign here. Deontay who? Mad chatter. Deontay who? You talking about Devontae? Like Devontae Adams or Devontae Smith? Or Devontae Smith? Yeah. I mean, maybe. Oh, you talking about Deontay Johnson? Yeah, no, that's not happening. I mean, I bet you Deontay Johnson would love to come back and sign here now. I bet you Deontay Johnson would love to sign here back here now, but again, the guy is a head case, and he's going to continue to dig himself a deeper hole through this league, and he will never, ever. He might, if he continues to go down the path he's going, he will never play it down in the NFL again. He's ruining his career. Why and how and why he's doing this, I don't know, but he's ruining his career right now. So those are my top 5 wide receiver targets based off of trades or based off of free agency, whatever the case may be. How this dude getting fired on his day off by desperate wide receiver needy teams at that. My God. Kendall, man, again, the guy is a head case. The guy is literally, I think Deontay Johnson's just a mental head case. I really do. I think he's a mental head case, and I think his mouth gets him in trouble. And he's a cancer, man. He's an absolute cancer to locker rooms. I think he's a hell of an athlete. I think he could be a hell of a wide receiver. I just think that he's too worried about getting targets. But he's a wide receiver 2 at best. He's not a wide receiver 1. Why do you think the Steelers got rid of him? George Pickens is their wide receiver 1. He's not going to get as much targets. It's almost like he's like a wannabe Stephon Diggs. Is what Deontay Johnson is. It almost feels like that. DK Metcalf. I have him in my top 5, Joshua. I have him in my top 5. We just went over my top 5. Yeah, my top 5 in no particular order though is Garrett Wilson. I would say probably actually no, I'll put it in order. Garrett Wilson's my number 1. T Higgins is my number 2. DK is my number 3. Chris Godwin's my number 4. And then I would probably say Deebo Samuel my 5. Honorable mention, Amari Cooper. But Amari Cooper is probably going to re-sign with he's probably going to re-sign with I think Buffalo. I think he re-signs with Buffalo. So, other than that, there's really I think the wide receiver pool might be very slim pickings. What's up with that guy? Why does he keep getting cut? Again, man, I just don't know. I don't know what the story is behind Deontay Johnson and him just continuing to just find himself getting just kicked, just kicked to the curb, man. I don't get it. I don't get it. Draft Travis Hunter, put him at wide receiver, and put him at CB. Joshua, I just don't think Travis Hunter is going to be good at both positions, and I don't think he's going to be able to. Not the way, because the speed at Colorado is not going to be the same speed in the NFL. And I just don't see Travis Hunter being able to play both positions. And he won't be there anyways. He won't be at number 8. I guarantee you Travis Hunter will not be there at number 8. And Travis Hunter is not a guy that this team really needs. Travis Hunter is not a guy that this team really needs. They need the Abdul Carter, the Mason Grahams of the world. But I think, if I'm Carolina and if Abdul Carter or Mason Graham ain't there, man, you got to go back and trade back and you got to go get. So, like, you trade with somebody. Like, you could go and trade back with, I mean, so many different things you could do. Like, we could trade down 10 spots. And someone suggested this to me the other day, or today. We could end up trading 10 spots down in the draft and get an extra second round pick, which means then you could end up and possibly get Kenneth Grant, and or who knows what will happen, or maybe you get a James Pierce Jr. there, right? Depending on how far you go down, right? 10 spots, so that's the 18th pick. So, who knows who's going to be there at the 18th pick, you know, or maybe Ashton Genty's at number 8, but you call Dallas and tell them, hey, we're at number 8. But if you want to, and this was another thing that someone suggested me, you go after Ashton Genty and then you get Dallas on the phone and say, hey, we're going to take Ashton Genty here. But if you want to, we could trade now. You give me your 12th pick and a third round pick, or a 12th pick in your second round and your third, or whatever the case may be. And, you pick at the 12th spot instead of 8, and you got an extra, second round or third round pick, or you got 2 picks out of it, or you got an extra second round pick, or you got an extra third round pick, whatever the case may be. Right. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting what they do. You got to be stupid or something to get fired on your day off. I don't know, man. I again, match. I don't know. I would trade that 8th overall pick for Tyreek Hill. I wouldn't. Tyreek Hill comes with too much baggage, and he's also getting up there in age. I wouldn't trade the 8th overall pick for Tyreek Hill. That would be a terrible move by Carolina. We do not need to be trading a pick for a wide receiver. That just doesn't make sense to me. Now, if you want to go and get a Garrett Wilson, who's younger and is the versatility that he brings to the table, I wouldn't trade an 8th overall pick for Garrett Wilson. I think that they would take something around a second and third round pick for Garrett Wilson, or a second and a fourth, something like that. But Garrett Wilson is a better wide receiver for Bryce Young because of his route running precision and the ability to create separation, right? I think that even though Tyreek Hill can do probably those things too, he's getting up there in age. I just don't like the idea of Tyreek Hill with Bryce Young. And he comes with too much baggage. Too much baggage for me. Man, Darnold, listen, Matt Chatter, Darnold, y'all can't blame Darnold for that game last night, man. That man got sacked 9 times in one game. Like, how can you? Again, I don't think that game was I don't think that was Sam Darnold's fault last night, ladies and gentlemen. I don't think Sam Dar- I and I told y'all that the Rams were going to beat the Vikings. Did I not tell y'all that? Did I not tell y'all that? I'm pretty sure I did tell y'all that the Rams were going to beat the Vikings. So, again, man, that wasn't Darnold's fault last night, though, Matt Chatter. You get sacked 9 times. That's not on you. That's on your offensive line. If I buy a Bryce Young jersey, I'll buy a Bryce Young jersey if the Panthers save us from Genty coming to the East. I can't confirm nor deny that's going to happen, my friend. I cannot confirm or deny that's going to happen. So, guys, I'm going to hop off of here. This is a short live tonight. Again, I gave you my top 5 wide receiver targets this offseason. Make sure you do me a favor. Make sure you like this live stream. Share it with your friends and family. Make sure you pound the like button. Hit that subscribe button. Make sure you click that post notification bell so you don't miss out on new content. Make sure you go over to the NFC South Roundtable. If you missed tonight's episode, make sure you go over there, check it out. All right. Make sure you go over there and check it out. Again, gave you my top 5. All right. Appreciate everyone joining. As always, guys, love you. Be safe. Keep pounding. Peace.